Hello people, I am Jaby KOAY, and this is my review for Nani. Nani? No. Hello people, I am Jaby KOAY, and this is my review for Gang Leader, the film starring natural star Nani. Natural star is how he was credited in the credits of the movie, and it's written and directed by Vikram Kumar. It's also written by Mukund Pandey and Darling Swami. Not all of the female talent has photos in the IMDb list for some reason, so I'm not going to call them out specifically, but this is a non-spoiler review anyway, so I'll probably be more generic, general, ambiguous anyway. First and foremost, I want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was every bit as fun as I was hoping it would be. I strongly recommend it. I think it's a really fun movie. There are still some things that it's like, well, that's kind of a weird thing, and that's kind of a weird hole, but in general, I feels like Vikram Kumar has crafted a movie that is, for all intents and purposes, very self-aware. He's aware, he makes you aware that you're watching a movie on purpose, and that's okay. It's very stylized, and I enjoy that stylized way that he decided to go about making this movie. I think it's really cool. There were certain little tricks he did that I could see coming, but I enjoyed it anyway. Near the, I'm not gonna say what because, oh boy, I just almost gave away something. I am not gonna give away that spoiler. Anyway, yes, overall, it's a very, very enjoyable movie. There are some weird little plot holes, but I sort of forgive all that because the general adventure of the movie is so much fun. There's so much heart in here, and Nani is a very enjoyable actor to watch. The entire cast of women in this movie are all very enjoyable. I would say that my one little gripe might have been with the little girl where I wish they had gone with, I apologize if the parents of the little girl or the little girl's watching this review, but I just wish they went with a stronger actress that was of that age, because she was the one spot where I was like, oh, I know she's acting, you know? Outside of that, like, the cast overall was fun. I thought they picked really, really good actresses for each of those female cast members, and the supporting cast was good overall. There was some weird little moments, and I find this, it might be translation, but I find this happens sometimes with Telugu films and me, you know, where I'm like, that felt weird. It felt artificial. It was, in particular, near the beginning of the movie, one of the women in the movie hires this dude to drive a truck, and he has this moment where he's speaking to himself while she's in the car, and he's saying it loud enough that I'm like, surely she would hear this. It's loud enough for us, the audience, to hear it, but he's saying it so loud that I feel like she would hear it too, and she just doesn't because the movie says she doesn't hear it. That little kind of thing where he's talking to himself that way, the dialogue specifically and the volume at which he was doing it felt very unrealistic. And it's like that little kind of thing happened sometimes in the movie. The villain in this film, I feel like he could have been a little bit more three-dimensional, but overall, I feel like they gave him some good backstory. They fleshed him out as much as they could, but I just wish that he was just a little bit more three-dimensional is the only word I can choose at this hour. It's past midnight and I gotta get up early. So I wish they somehow found a way to make him a little bit more human rather than just this very kind of one-tone dude. Like, yes, we got a backstory with why he is the way he is, but I didn't get a sense that he was a real person. I got the sense that he was a villain, and that was it. For as rounded as all of the protagonists were in the film, I just wish that the villain was a little bit more rounded. That's all. He was certainly a formidable villain, you know, and I really, really enjoyed how Vikram Kumar played with your expectations and kind of usurped your expectations. And, you know, he pulled you this way and made you think that things were gonna go a certain way, and then they go this other direction. I enjoyed all that. I thought that it was a really fun, well-made movie overall, and it was well shot. I liked it visually, you know, the aesthetics of the film were really, really cool. I appreciated the arcs in the stories that the characters who had the most to say. I appreciated the arcs that they had in the movie. Not everybody had an arc. I take that back. Everybody had an arc. Everyone had a change by the end of the movie, and that's good. Because that's one of the things I generally ask for, is that your character, like, it doesn't always have to happen. Like James Bond, for instance. He's usually the same person at the end that he is at the beginning. Hold on, you guys are close. He's usually the same person at the end that he is at the beginning. So James Bond doesn't necessarily have to have an arc, but generally speaking, in dramatic narratives like this, you want your characters to have an arc, and I feel like every single one of the main characters pretty much did have an arc. They all had these realizations, and that where they they grew as people. By the end of the film, you really felt like they all grew, and I really, really liked that. So it was a very wholesome movie. It had some violence in there, but in general, especially being a Telugu film, it just felt like a very wholesome film that, for the most part, the whole family could enjoy. What I mean by, especially for Telugu, because I know that's gonna be, you know, some of you are gonna be like, why did he say that? Where I come from, in the US, you generally don't have the level of violence you see in Telugu films in kids' movies. It's very covered up, or it's not there at all. The delineation between children and adult films doesn't seem to be very clear in Telugu films as far as I can tell. But this one felt like, for the most part, the whole family could enjoy it. The violence was very minimal, and the violence that was there was, I think it was necessary. It was necessary for the function of telling the story. While there are certain things that keep this from being perfect in my book, I mean, what movie is perfect? But I just feel like there were certain things where it's like, oh my God, Vikram K. Kumar was so close though. Like if he just changed this here and this here and this here, and it would have been a perfect movie. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would watch this again with friends just so I could have a laugh. I mean, there was some really good laughs in this movie. If I wasn't laughing, I was smiling. It was just a very, very enjoyable movie overall, and I strongly recommend it. Regardless of whatever region you're from, whatever cinema that you prefer, Tollywood, Mollywood, Collywood, Bollywood, like I think that this is a very, very recommendable film. One of the other things I want to point out that I really appreciated about this film is the romantic angle, because I feel like it was very delicately and tastefully handled. It wasn't rushed at all. It wasn't like in your face. It was done just enough. I mean, you knew that that was there, and the film would revisit it throughout the movie, and it was done in such a way that I just really, really liked. And I think that it was really well earned. It wasn't just kind of thrown in there and there for the sake of being there. It wasn't just there because the movie says so. Like, they really show you the progression of how those two characters come to really, really appreciate each other. The one thing I do wish is that with that you could see beyond the physicality of why Nani liked that woman, because for the most part, even though you got to spend a lot of time with all of the women, I never really got a deeper sense as to what was special about this woman that he liked beyond her being beautiful. I got way more out of why he appreciated the other characters in the movie than her. Like I said, there are a couple of things that are very like, how did that person know how to do that thing? How did that person figure out how to do this thing over here? It's only like two things. It's 2 or 3 things in the entire film. They're kind of big, but the thing is, it's still only 2 or 3 things. And for me, what was most important was that this film had so much heart. This is the last point I want to mention. One of the things I mentioned earlier was that there is some action in this movie. Now, the action that they do show you in the film, for the most part, is actually really, really well done. There was some, what I would consider, timing issues that could have been compressed, that felt a little bit unrealistic. Although, now that I know the entire movie, maybe it's forgivable. I can't tell you exactly what I mean by that, but once you get to, there's something that happened at the beginning that felt slow in terms of characters responding to an action, but now that I've watched the entire movie, it actually makes a little bit more sense. I can justify it. I still wish they compressed the time a bit. I'm being ambiguous on purpose because I don't want to ruin anything. I still wish they compressed some of the sequences and the action a little bit, particularly at the beginning, but understanding what was happening, I get it. Now I appreciate it. It's cool. Later on, there's an action sequence towards the end of the movie, and it's kind of an homage to, I guess, Telugu action films, or just maybe Indian action films in general, but I think it's more so Telugu action films. And to me, it does it so well that it actually ends up besting other Telugu action that I've seen so far. Like, I'm like, oh wow, like this is actually one of the most enjoyable Telugu action scenes in terms of fight scenes. It's one of the most enjoyable Telugu action scenes I've seen. Probably the most enjoyable Telugu fight scene that I've seen so far. And so for me, it's almost like Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg doing Shaun of the Dead, because Shaun of the Dead is making fun of the zombie genre, and then it rises up and becomes part of the zombie genre, and it does it so well that it's like, it's almost better than other films in the zombie genre. And so I feel like that's sort of what happened here, where it's imitating action from Telugu cinema, but then it does it better. Like the way it's shot, edited, I can actually see what's going on, and I can appreciate the action. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, overall, again, I would strongly recommend this, and I hope you guys watch it. I would love to know what you guys think if you've watched it already, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than the audience around me. There were certain moments where things were making me smile, and I looked around, I'm like, am I the only one who's smiling at this? Why am I the only one who's enjoying this? and getting this much satisfaction out of it. I would really love to hear from you guys what you think. Maybe Indian audiences just don't smile as much when they're watching movies like this. I don't know. You guys can tell me your experiences with the film, but it had me smiling quite a bit. It was a very enjoyable movie overall. So, probably said that too many times. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Jaby KOAY. Peace out.